Got the two chains that you cross, roll up. The breakaway connector. If the pumps get loose, it breaks away. It applies the brakes to the trailer pump.
Perfect.
Right?
Yep.
So you understand English pretty good?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then on the jack, it's a two-position jack. So you have the foot. If you roll it all the way up, you pull this pin and then the lower leg will drop. Yeah. So it's pretty much standard. If you look in here, you have an air filter. Yeah, you see it in there?
Yeah.
So this air filter, the fuel, the oil, and the hydraulic filter are going to be changed at 250 engine hours. Engine hours. And we're using a 10W30 Rotilla 4. It's full synthetic. You can use whatever you like, you know what I mean, but we just use what the manufacturer calls for.
They're in Arkansas, so I don't know what would you recommend for that kind of weather.
I do the synthetic.
Synthetic?
Yeah.
Okay. Rotella?
I would.
Okay.
It's a little bit more expensive, but you know, I mean, two gallons it's 34 bucks for a gallon. You get two of them, it's 60. You know, with the filters, 100 bucks. All change, you know, just like a car. I mean,
yeah, like another diesel.
Yeah. So that's at 250 engine hours.
Okay.
You have your fuel tanks here with a simple mechanical gauge. They're not very accurate, but they get you in the ballpark.
Okay.
So at every tank should, you know, in America, there's going to be a low point on the tank. If you look under here, there's a low point. As the unit's sitting level, this would be in your monthly inspection. You're going to drain a little bit of fuel out of here. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. And then same with over here in the corner. You see that plug over there on the hydraulic tank?
So
Yes.
is that plug, not the one at the bottom, right? Because I saw another one at the bottom.
Either one.
Either one?
Either
Okay,
one.
gotcha.
The tank is shaped like a V, so there's a low point in the tank, and that's the farthest end is there. And same with the fuel. The fuel's going this way on the V. So this is going to be in your monthly inspection. One will send you a PDF of a weekly, monthly, yearly inspection. Pretty straightforward. About what we're discussing here, you'll look, oh, you know, drain the fuel, you know, whole tank. So I'll go over the pumps in session. So you got the main drive here, and it handles accumulator and, because this is a single circuit, accumulator and main drive, which is your pistons. Here you have a cleaner. So what that is taking oil out of the tank, pushing it through the cooler, back to filter, back to tank at 31 liters a minute. So even at idle, this thing's cooling. Right. Not efficient, but it's cooling always. So as you can see, the engine runs, the output shaft of the engine runs straight through the pump, and then that runs straight through to the cooler. So if you lessen the engine RPMs, you lessen the cooling and clean capability. So if I know a lot of old guys will tell you, no, you run this down and you run this one up. Well, you can for a while, but you'll overheat eventually. You'll burn the pump up. So always run the machine full out at 2,300 RPMs, and then you vary the pistons with the vibration. Yeah.
Okay.
So and then the last, of course, is your agitator pump here at the end for your agitator, and it's a single circuit. There would be another port back here if you had 3 banks, and that would be for hydraulic outriders.
All right.
So that's the difference. You're going to see a pump that looks like, it's got about 2 or 3 more inches on you. You're like, what's the difference? Well, the hand valves are the difference. You're just a 3 bank, and the other 2 would be sticking up here. And that's for hydraulic outriders. Inside here is your piston cups, and that's for cooling. The water is for cooling and a lubricant, somewhat. It makes it slide. Those cools the piston cups. As the pistons are pushing concrete back and forth, there's an interchange, there's a rubber cup in there, and then the water stays on one side, of course the concrete stays on the other, and that just cools you down and lubricates. So being with that said, when you fill it up in the morning and you're running the machine, at the end of the day you're going to drain it, because what will happen is the packings are neoprene and rubber inside the barrel, so they contract different than the chrome rod that's in it. So as it cools, the chrome rod's going to stay expanded. The seals are going to stay open. The rod's going to cool down, and the seals are going to take slower to cool. The water's going to go through there then. So then when you start up in the morning, water's going to return back to the tank. So it'll keep doing that, and finally, when that main drive sucks up a little bit of water, it'll blow instantly. There's hardly any tolerance. At the shop, I've seen some guy clean a tank out with one of them red rags that leaves the hair behind, the real fine, hair. And he put oil in it, and they run it and blew the motor out, blew the the main drive up. That's how close the tolerances are. So it's not much. It's like your blood. You keep it dirty, it's not gonna last long.
Yeah.
You keep it clean, that's why you're changing every 250 engine hours filter.
Where can we get those parts right there, the filters?
You can convert through Napa, or you can call through us and we can get them for you, either or.
Okay.
But they will convert.
All right.
And same with the air filter, it will convert. I think it's a pH 56 for this, and then the rest of them pH 01 or something like that.
Okay.
So they do convert. You got your muffler up here, run it straight through the stack. And the difference between this and 2011 BF is the turbo. So one's got I think 74 horse, the other one's 56. So when you see like a 500 or a 160 or a 260, that's the difference. Is the turbo.
Okay.
One's turbo and one isn't. You have your plunger here, so if you run out of fuel, God willing you don't, but you can prime it here
Okay.
until it gets tight. Dipstick, that's where you're gonna change, add your oil. Yeah, your filter. There is one up on top, but it's hard to access, the one on top.
Okay.
So it's easier just to go through here. I just get a flexible funnel.
Funnel, and that's it.
So you do have your cooling fan up front. You turn it on, you'll hear it. A lot of owner-operators wire this switch together, so every time you turn the key on, it naturally comes on. You said you're in Alabama?
Arkansas.
Arkansas, okay. So it does get a little cold.
Yep, it does.
Yeah, so you might want to run your first truck without the fan, and then as you get up to about 90, then turn it on and then run it from there.
Well, be the tolerance. Well, not. How do you say that? Like, I have to be within what type of temperature? What kind of temperature?
Usually the general is about 70 degrees. It's a minimum. So what I generally do is, when I get to the job, is I'll show you how to pressure it out. But I'll leave it pressured out at a low speed and let it pressure out for about maybe 5 minutes. Boy, it'll raise the heat real quick. It'll be 100 degrees in no time. And then I back the machine off, let it idle, and it'll cool down. 15 minutes you get the truck backed up and get it sloughed up. By then it'll shrink down to about 70, and that's normal. And you can go from there. If it's real cold, if it's 30, if it's around 50, I just let the machine idle. Usually that heat lead up enough just to, if it's 50 degrees. Anything lower than 50, then I usually pressure it out.
Okay.
Let it build some heat. Now you can. I know a lot of up north, especially farther up north, they put a quarter turn valve here. It's a Schrader valve to turn it off and on for hydraulic, and then you just turn the agitator on and shut it off, and it'll build a shitload of heat. It'll build a lot of heat. So it'll turn into a furnace. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is just choking it down and then just pressuring out, and then it'll build heat.
Okay.
Either way. So you have a simple restriction gauge on your filter. In the morning you'll see you might see a little yellow because the oil's thick. It's hard to suck through. But you check this at the end of the day when the oil's hot.
Okay.
That's how that works. In the morning you might even see a little red. You might. So then you got your agitator. That's in reverse, forward.
Oh, forward is all the way down. Yeah, there. Okay.
Correct. And then you got a neutral. Right? The industry norm is you always keep it forward. Always get it pulling inside the cylinders, not pulling away. On a wet load, it's not really applicable, because it's wet. The agitator doesn't not really efficiently moving stuff because it's so wet. It just goes around the agitator. This would be like you do in shotcrete curbs on 3-inch long.
They're gonna do a mix with 1-inch aggregate. I don't know if that.
You're gonna see it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's constantly pulling away. You know what I mean? So it's gonna have air in it. When you're pumping, so you'll see it. You do have a drain here, and this just drains the water box out. That's all it does. You lift it up and it just drains out. It's got a rubber stopper on the end. Yeah. We'll go around the main panel at the last part. Material cylinders, and the principle is the S tube is over in one direction in one hole, one's sucking, one's pushing. It switches over, and now that one's pushing, and the other one's. That's all that's doing. And those proximity switches here are telling the POF card where it is in relation to that piston's all the way back, that S tube is all the way over. And then when it gets a signal all the way forward, and then it knows it's all the way back. You know what I mean? So it just orientates that. So that's what those proximity switches do. So when you call me and say, listen, it goes one time, and then one time, and it stops. I turn it off, turn it back on, it goes one time. Well, we know it's a proximity switch has it out, or the cord, or a POF card. You know. Now, there is a third proximity switch, and I'll kind of touch base with it here on the very back, and that's called an autocorrect. An older Poots couldn't correct itself, so every morning you had to correct it, which means you had to push the machine out and send that piston all the way up until it stopped. Boom, you stop it, and then you start pumping. You correct it, you stop. And now the machine does it electronically, so every 5th stroke it's looking for that signal. So if you call me and say, listen, it pumps 4 strokes and then stops. 4 strokes and stops. We know it's in the autocorrect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's looking for that. So that's what those are all 3 proximity switches. I know they're kind of confusing. Once one system breaks down and we kind of go over the phone of how it works and what it does, it's pretty simple.
We could order any parts through you guys, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you call us before 2, it's usually next day.
Okay.
Before 2. That's about the cutoff date for us. Okay, so this orange cord here is for your vibrator. So you just like take the concrete down to the so you got your pushover cylinders here on either side, grease line, and then these grease lines go into a main junction box, distribution. And everything's here, however, the agitators. You got the end cap and then the far cap. You know, you're gonna have to grease this manually.
9 points in total.
Correct. So this is going to be about every 50 yards and at the end of the job.
Okay.
So it's just like a car. Have you ever took an engine apart on a car?
No, sir.
Okay, so
Have you taken what for?
Motor engine.
Oh, yeah.
let me show you what a German describes as a bearing. So this is all that's in there, if you can believe it. So that fits in there, and then that's a rubber diaphragm. So if you can think about it, you would think that this would wear out and the plastic will wear out before this, but that plastic will cut this right in half with a little bit of sand and water.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what it'll do. So the main thing is because the hopper is holding grout all day long as you're pumping. So you need to squeeze that grout back into the hopper
With grease.
with grease. So that's what you're doing.
Okay.
So every
until
day at the end
grease
of the job,
it, basically grease it until you see grease out of the bushings. Yeah.
Okay.
wish
Every
we
50 hours. Correct.
no, every 5th truck.
Every
so
5th
so
truck.
if you're doing 60 yards when the 5th truck's leaving, the 6th one's backing up, I grease real quick.
Raise it. Okay.
And then
That's
when I get
50.
with the 6th truck, at the end of the job, I grease again.
That's
Okay.
50
Yep.
yards at the end of the
Grease
job.
all the time.
Pretty
Well,
much, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Putzmeister is notorious. They're double what a swing is a rebuild, but they last double long too. So you got to kind of give one or take. If you got a good operator, Putz will last you forever. If you have a bad operator, it's going to cost you twice as much than a swing. So you just got to kind of maintain that the grease. You need the grease to flow. You know?
Okay.
If you're not using a tube every 3 days, you know, this is a typical. You pump 50 yards a day, 3 days. You should be using about a tube of grease. I'll give you a tube that we use here locally. It's a pretty good start. It's made for heat and pressure. So from there, it's up to you.
All right.
How much you want to. Let me get it before I forget now. It's got a part number on it.
Esa grasa tiene un alto punto de ebullición, como 500 y pico Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Y esa es la que realmente protege máquinas de estas cuando se pone bien caliente el roce metal con metal. ¿Hasta ahora tiene alguna pregunta?
No, ahorita.
No, todo bien.
¿Es normal que esté tirando agua por los empaques?
Sí, porque como te digo, todo esto se lo sacaron, todo esto, todo, y entonces tienes que si silicona y el sello normal, pero una vez usted le echa concreto al hopper, el mismo concreto se encarga de hacer un sellamiento perfecto, entonces la próxima vez que usted le eche agua al hopper no le va a liquear por ningún lado.
So this is made for heat and pressure.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And it's got a high dew point. Anything, you know, 520, 540, 560, that's where you want to stay around.
All right.
So the water doesn't dissipate it.
All right. Okay.
So then your outer bearing and then you got your inner bearing here. Or your bearing out. How about that? That's the bearing.
Y ese también se engrasa, ese outer bearing. Porque aquí hay un punto de grasa, le llega grasa hasta allá.
Todo se engrasa.
Todo lo que sea movimiento.
Los nuevos puntos.
Mhm.
So think of it like a bearing in a wheel.
Yeah.
You know, you got your outer and you got your inner. You know.
So basically the grease is all, it's your,
Grease all the moving parts. All the
So-
it's your gasket. Or not your
Uh,
gasket, your,
As in a car, you have your connecting rod and your main cap fits over the crank. And as the crank moves up and down, the piston goes with it, correct?
Yeah.
Well, the oil is the bearing. It's just copper, you know, so it's sacrificial. So
and
just
this
think
will
of that.
be the grease.
The grease is your bearing.
The grease is your bearing.
So you got your grease points here. You got one here on the cap, and then if you look under here in your cover shroud, you'll see the other one.
All right.
At the bottom.
Okay.
Yep. So you have your trap door here, plus away, and then it's got a hole in the center, and everything will wash out.
Flush it away.
Yeah.
All right.
Your connection plate here. This is a 5-inch heavy duty end. Heavy duty. Anything metric anymore is illegal. Nobody's running metallic anymore. So it's all heavy duty. That's all it carries. I think still in some countries they're still using metric, but I think it's just an influx of what we used to have. We sent over there, but everything's heavy duty now. I think the only thing that's metallic anymore is water pipes, and that's it. If you look in here, these are 4 reversing valves. So what I wanted to call to your attention,
The blue ones.
the blue ones. So you have 2. So you got 4 reverse of the piston, and then you got orientation of the. And if you look in that placard there, you'll see them. See why 1, 2, 3. So in the center of that is a bullseye. See the bullseye here in the center? Theoretically, if you push that in with a 16-pin nail, the piston will move one time. You come around and move back. So if, for whatever reason, you lost power or whatever, you can't get the stroke, at least when you clean the machine out, you push it once, send the piston back, it'll push that one forward. On the other side, you push the S-tube over, so you can clean that piston.
All right. Okay.
You push it back, and you push that one all the way back, and then all the way forward, and you can wash that side off.
So you will save the job and save the machine actually doing that manually, just in the while you basically repair it.
Correct. And that way
You get it cleaned out.
You get it cleaned
You
out.
get it
Right?
cleaned
You get
out.
back to the shop, you give me a call. Hey, listen, I had a problem, but the machine's good, the codes are good. That's the main thing. That's what's going to cost me the most money. If we got to break it down and go through ship a piston out, then that'd be $5,000 easily. And a lot of times, if you wait, say it happens to you in 2 years, a lot of times the cylinder ain't worth the same. So then that costs you $3,000 just for 2 new cylinders. You know what I mean? So it gets expensive real quick. The main thing is to save the machine, and your hose. So I always remembered a checklist on the job. What's a high consumable? What's gonna cost me the most amount of money? Well, I know I got $6,000 in the hose. I get the hose clean machine. Because in steel, concrete tends to not set up so fast. In rubber, in the heat of the day, it's gonna set up real quick. So I'm shaking the hoses out first, and then I'm down to my last 2 or 3 hoses. I'll leave the guy there, and I'll start working on the machine next. Get that cleaned out. Boom, it's done. You can. I have seen over the years those cheap inflatable pools at Walmart. You buy for
Yeah,
$3
that's what I've
$4.
seen. Yeah, people having them in the back of the truck.
Go down there, fill it up. And that way, if you have a Greek tragedy, boom, you jump right there, and then tomorrow you can come scoop it up with a forklift, rent one. Then it costs you about a lot of money. Because when you're in a crisis, you don't care if it's asphalt down there or brand new concrete, you're dumping it out. So that kind of takes so that's and believe me, that's concrete pumping. If it's bad's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Trust me. The machines beat themselves to death all day long. So I guess the critical part is if you see a bolt getting loose, tighten it up.
Yeah.
If you see something getting loose, call somebody or enough to I know that's not gonna be that's gonna fall off on me. I need to tighten it up. So that thing is squealing, squalling, battered and shit. I don't know if I'm gonna do another job with it. So just kind of protect your bases. The outrigger configuration is you put the front all the way down, you set the feet, and then you jack the front up, and that takes the tension off the top.
All right. Okay.
So you can take a tire off if you want. If you put
Put those down and
put it down, put them down and put a 4x4 for each one, and then jack that baby all the way up. She'll come up off the ground.
Okay.
So you can take tires off. You can leave it on the job if you want.
is it recommended to always use the jacks right here, or do we?
Usually if you're you're a 215 over, if it's about a 150, or 1500, then I'd say probably you should. It'll keep the shock off the truck, and eventually you'll shut the transmission or rear end. Yeah, but 250 generally no, because they're bigger and they're tougher. I never had a problem as far as 250.
Okay. This machine can a 250 handle it, or do you exactly need a 350?
A 250, no, 250 is perfect.
This is what, 5,600 pounds?
5,600. Now, if you're going to a 1,000, I'd say probably 350.
Oh yeah.
But this, yeah, I mean, they don't get stuck too well, too easy. I mean, you can put wider and tires that float a little bit, a little bit nicer. You can do that. I've seen all kinds of ways,
Okay.
A 250 usually, I mean, here in Florida, you're stuck. There's no, it's all orange grove. There's no bottom to it, beach sand. You know what I mean? So you're stuck. You're stuck. Best way is to let the air out of the tires and make them that wide, and then you can get out and we'll throw them up somewhere. But they're not too bad. 40s are what put Putzmeister on the map. 40s are a real universal, really good pump. They really are. Yeah. I mean, I come from swing, so I hate to say it, but they're really good fucking pump. They really are. Yeah. I'm swing by nature, so. But,
they
40s
wash your brain.
Yeah, the 40s are really good. I hate to say it, they really are.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll put it in test. We'll see how it comes out.
They're really good. I mean, I've seen a lot of, everybody's got a way of skinning a cat, and the two big boys on the block are swinging food, and 40s are a really good idea how to do it. I mean, they really are.
Another question I have, this temperature, what's the temperature they should, it should always be? It should be like around 75, 80, is that what you said?
So you, the cooling fan will come on automatically. However, by the time it comes on, you're way over hot. So that's why I'm saying you run it manually.
All the time.
Yeah. Generally, you can't put your hand on the tank without ooh, that's hot. Yeah, it's going to be about in the 150 range. You need to back off and figure out why you're generating that much heat. Either it's too stiff, or a cooling fan has stopped, or whatever. And then no more less than 50 degrees. So you start at 50 and you end about 150.
So 50 to 150. That'll be the.
So your normal out rating is going to be about a 100.
Tolerance.
100.
About 100.
100.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is in the heat of the day. You did 60 yards. Bam, 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 bam. And you stop. About 100.
Okay.
Chances are, if it's running that hot, usually the quick fixes are the cooling fan is broken and it stopped working. So that'll generate. But other than that, then you're down to seals and stuff like that.
We don't want to get into that.
Well, I mean, it's an easy find. You get a heating gun and then you give it one job and you look at the heating points. I'll tell you a couple places to hit, and generally they're in the differential zone. The packing gun home back. It's letting fluid go by it. So, and over time they do. You can't run in and out of a differential cylinder about 1 million times without rebuilding them.
That's right.
It's impractical.
But hopefully not. So.
No, you're talking 6-7 years.
Okay.
That's what you're down around to. You'll go through several material cylinders before you do that. But usually I'm looking when I'm taking the cylinders off. We're looking the packing set. If they start in a week, you take them out. Because in a month or two you're going to take them out anyway. Put this all back together and then you can take them up all apart again. Take the packings out. So might as well do it all in one shot. So and then when I put the cylinders back in, put it back together, you're good for another. Usually you'll cough up a cylinder probably in about 3 years, 4 years. Now this is pumping every day, 50 yards every day, 5 days a week. It'll probably take you, hell, I don't know, maybe 8,000 yards, 9,000 yards, something like that. You'll be going through material cylinders. But by then you'll be going through a lot of ass ends and a lot of, piston cups by then. And you're kind of looking at them as you go. These you can't flip or directional or one way. You can't really flip. The 500s, of course, you can flip. There's a few models that you can still flip, but pretty much all of them now are one directional. You put them on, you run them there, pop them out of there. Yeah. So you got a high and low. You see where you got the black for the high, and then you got a red in here for low. Usually we keep it around the H. Usually on level, and that gives you that much room to expand because hydraulic fluid does expand up to 2 inches.
All right.
So if you filled it up, up in here somewhere, and then you did your first job and it got a little hot, it's gonna come out the breather cap. It's gonna be all over the ground. You're like, what the hell is that? You overfilled it.
All right. Okay.
So just like the sticker says, you got your engine throttle, your accumulator pressure, which is stored energy, back and forth, your main drive pistons for the drive, and you're seeing this at the head of the piston, not 200 or 300 feet downstream, you know, it drops drastically. So you might only get 200 psi out there at the end, you know. But here at the head of the piston, that's where you see your most pressure, out where the coupler is. Yeah, so when you see, you know, the remix driver, he's got his leg on here and he's pumping, and he's, hey man, get off there, man. Okay? There's 5,000 psi back there. It'll be the last time he does it, trust me. You know, to put that clamp around the neck. So, and then you got your volume control here, and that slows the pistons down. So all this is a remote access of this regulator here, and that's telling percentage-wise what the main drive to come on to. So you got a control line, right, off of working pressure. It tells when the pump comes on. Boom, okay, I'm on. What percentage do you want me on? 10%, 30%, 40%. So every turn's a percentage. 10, 20, 30, 40. So that's what that does. At full out, you're at 100%, and then when you screw it all in, it'll actually stop the unit from pumping at all. So you can turn it on, and the light will come on, and you're like, wait a minute, it's not pumping. You haven't told it what percentage.
You're at 0%.
Yeah. You call me with that, I'm going to hang up on you. So, just, you know, and I don't expect the world. You know, you guys get started first, and you get pumping. There's going to be a few mistakes. You don't learn unless there's a mistake. You know what I mean? I've been with guys that have been on 61 meters, have been on there for 5 years. Didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Just turn buttons all day long. It's a brand new pump. You get an older pump, you know, when the screw turns here, and hey, it hiccuped there, Harold. Why'd they do that? Oh, here, let me show you. How you learn. You know, that's how you become a good operator, a very good operator. You know, you just turn the pump on and go out making money. And, I mean, it's good for an owner, but you don't actually learn nothing. You know, you're not even doing with your machine. You know, fast forward a year later, hey, the main drive fucked up. And did you check the water in the tank? It's full. No, I just turn it on and off. That's all I know. Okay, well, it cost you $5,000. I mean, so, you know, it's nice to get an older seasoned machine, because, you know, it's already been gone through. It's got some of the bugs out of it. You know what I mean? You kind of see, okay, well, you know, I see they put a new forward reversing valve on the agitator. Why'd they do that? Well, because somebody never used it. It left it in one position for a year, and it froze there. You know what I mean? It just, you know what I mean? It's kind of nice to see, you know, what they replaced. You know, what went, you know, the machine's 10 years old. What did they replace on it so far? You know what I mean? Well, okay, I pretty much know what I need to check now. You know what I mean? So it makes it kind of interesting. So you got your main pressure here. You got your accumulator. This is off an engine here. That's the degrees on the engine itself. It's an air-cooled engine, so you shouldn't see more than 210. If there is, then there's pop-up valves in here. So all that does is it sucks in air and it blows it across an oil cooler here up on top, across the heads and then out. Well, actually this one diverts and it goes out the side, but in theory, if it gets any higher than that, one of these pop-up valves have gone bad. Okay. And it's cut the restriction of the cooling of the oil out. So you got your RPM gauge, hour gauge. Now I'm going to tell you, a lot of people can tell you a pump forward, but this is a pump on circuit. So pump on meaning it's always going to go forward because nothing else is controlling it to go. So pump on, pump off, right? This is a test. We'll come back to this later. If I want to go into reverse, I hit the reverse gear, and now when I hit pump on, it knows what now to go into reverse. But without it initiating, it won't do anything in reverse. You take the selector off, and when I turn the pump on, it's naturally going to go back into a forward gear. Yeah.
Just remember not to do the switching without pumping, without turning the pump off, right? I cannot do this.
Correct.
While the pump is working.
Because that valve that I showed you to push back and forth, those electric coils that on top. So as you turn it on, it energizes them and energizes and energizes and energizes. When you throw it in reverse, it slams one end to the other quickly, bam, and it'll potentially get stuck in that. So it won't go in anything else. You're going to call me, Harold, it's stuck here in forward. I can't get it going in reverse. I know what you did already. So.
You slam it.
Now it won't happen today, tomorrow, next month. Hell, it might happen in a year, but it'll finally throw it out the end of the cab. It'll blow it out.
Yeah.
So
in theory, I'm just putting this stuff in neutral while I'm doing the switching, right? I have to do this all the time. Neutral, change, like changing gears on your car.
Correct. Yeah. And then the last one, of course, is your cooling fan. So you do have a D-stop. There's actually two of them, but you have one here in the main controller, and it'll kill everything. And then you have one at the grate here on the far side. This black box here is your hopper grate switch. If the grate comes up, it will not start.
Okay.
it'll die. So, and you can really tell this is when I turn the machine on, I hear nothing. You hear the solenoid not clicking? So I turn it on and you'll hear it click. Hear it? And that's a fuel solenoid coming online. So you can really tell that the e-stop has been pressed, or the hopper brake switch has it when you don't hear the click. So so you got the lights, and then you got the e-stop, of course, gives you the light, and then you got the battery and the oil. This is for local, so when you actually got to pull it up and over, and now the main panel works. If I go in neutral, now nothing works.
Okay.
And then you got the remote setting. Up and over is for remote. If I hook in a cord or a radio remote, a wireless, that's the setting you'd be using. Yep. So any questions so far?
No question.
So on the startup, you have to pull it over and then to the start position. Yeah, that's how that would work. If you just put it over and hold it, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
You got to have it to the run position. Now I'll show you a little bit inside. It's kind of, you're not going to get all of it at first. You will after a while.
Oh, you're gonna show us something inside of the machine.
Yeah.
I thought inside of the shop.
Sorry.
Inside of the box.
So, when I turn the pump on, so you got number 5 on the POF card, and then you got your power. If I hit the e-stop, that's going to dump. This is an e-stop pelter box, yellow.
Okay.
So the question I'm going to ask you when you say, when I fired up, I don't have anything, is the light on the power on the e-stop box and on the POF card. POF card meaning where you have your interchange. So when I turn this on, I turn it on. Every time I hit the test, you're going to get a fire. You see the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, one side and then the other. Left and right.
Yep. So those are the questions. So what I'm doing is this test button, you're going to use it different from me. This test button I'm using to emulate one of them proximity switches. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
So in theory, if one of them switches had gone bad, if I hit the test, it'll interrupt it and it'll continue the sequence. It's thinking it's hitting a proximity switch.
Basically bypassing that part of the protocol.
All right. Okay.
Right.
And
So-
you can, and so in theory, you can finish a job like that.
Correct.
If I mess up a sensor, I can just manually
Yes.
do the switching.
Every time. Yeah. That's all I'm doing is I'm emulating.
Okay.
So if you can think about it in a rhythm, in an algorithm, you know, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. This is C. If C gets lost, I can't go to D anymore. I don't know what else to do. So I hold pressure until I release C. So that's all you're doing is you're emulating C.
So this accumulator should be dropping down from where? Right now it's dropping at like 70, no, well, yeah, 65 or something like that.
Okay, so usually the specs are about 65 to about 90. That's
okay.
That's about where the specs are at. Anything lower than you know, then what happens is the pump has to accommodate the rest of it, and you'll prematurely burn the pump up. So the gas needs to stay in there, and that'd be under your monthly check. And like he was describing. So we're gonna let it drop, and you're gonna see it snap off. This is your pretension gas in that bladder.
Retention gas.
So it's like a bicycle tire. If you don't run it every day, of course it's gonna bleed out a little bit. If you run it every day, of course you're not gonna lose anything. So you see where it snapped off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it snapped off like 70.
70. So, you know, this is in a monthly inspection. When you do your oil, you know, in your tank, you're going to bleed this off one time, and you're going to see that. You're going to have a pamphlet that he's going to send you on the PBF, and it'll demonstrate. But the bleed off is a monthly inspection.
Okay.
You do this by month. as an operator, you're the owner, correct?
Yeah.
So you'll I mean, you know, pumping is a thinking man's game. It always has been. You got to have a halfway decent individual. As you're walking by and your operator shuts it off, it just takes that quick. You know, you see where it snapped off. Well, you know, I'm getting low. I'm gonna have to do something here soon. So you're gonna, as you get a practice of washing up, you're checking these things out, but you know, in your head you're checking them out, but you know, nobody really knows what you're doing. You know, so you're filling the water box up in the morning, and then at the end of the day you drop it, and then you bring that one piston back, and you're looking at the bolts from the connection rod. Those are tight. I put it in reverse again and bring the other side back. I stop. I wash the water box up. I check now all 8 bolts. You know, you get into like a repetition of things to check and not to check. You know
So the water, every time you finish the job, you have to drain it out, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then I put it in one time in reverse and send it back. Stop it
before it cools down. Correct?
Yeah.
I check the 4 bolts that are on the connecting rod on the end of that rod in the piston cup. I put it in reverse one more time and stop it. I wash the water box out. I check them bolts. I'm done. At my very last part of the day that I do this, I wash.
How
out,
often do you have to check the bolts again? I'm sorry. How often on every job?
I check them on every job. In your weekly inspection, it's going to be per week. But I check them every day. You know what I mean? I do everything every day, so it never slips from me.
Yeah,
never.
I gotcha. And that sounds like a better idea. I mean, and there's 2 not bolts on each one of those pistons, right?
There's 4 bolts.
4 bolts each piston?
Each piston.
Okay, gotcha.
So you know, and then when I get done, I turn the machine off. I just look, I watch it and pop. Get in the truck, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Every day I'm checking stuff. You know, every day. In the morning I come in, I do a pre-chip. Before I start it, I drain a little bit of oil off. I know that's good. I look at the fuel. It looks pretty good. I start it up before I go to the job because I want to make sure it's running. I have the hopper usually, because I don't use a lot of truck water, so I fill the water box up and I fill the hopper up enough so I can swish it back and forth. I let it pump backwards 3 or 4 strokes. Boom, I'm done. I turn it off. I get in the truck and I go to the job. I don't wait till I get to the job and notice the damn thing won't turn on. Shit, now what do I do? You know, I don't have any tools. I don't, you know what I mean? So yeah, you got a good habit of doing things. You know, a good protocol in it. You don't let yourself get fucked over so bad. Just last week, a guy called us and he said, "Hey, and I got to the job. The truck backed up. We started. It won't stay running." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, let's check. You know, X, Y, and Z. Get your test light out of your truck and let's check." So you got an ohm meter? No. I said, "Well, get a screwdriver." "I don't have any tool." "Well, I don't know why you called me. I mean, you know what I mean? You go down to Ace for $50 to get a whole tool set. You know, they're cheap tools, but you know, they're something. You know what I mean? You got to be something to work with. So you know, be prepared. I mean, that's that's the pump man's motto. You know, if something bad's going to happen on the job, trust me, it's going to happen to the pump man. Yeah. I guarantee you. You know, when I was 21 years old, when the pump man got his job, oh, pump man, you know, they have shit cleared out for you, a nice big area. And now it's get over there by the stucco stand. I'm in the stucco pile. That's all right. You can pump right there. You know, we're like fucking garbage men now. You know, I mean, it sucks, but I mean, that's just the way the industry's worked out. So if it's bad's going to happen, you know, just prepare yourself. You know, be ready. You know, don't get to the job and figure it out that you left 2 clamps on the other job and now you don't have enough. Oh, shit.
You finished it out.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a protocol, my protocol is, this is how the scenario would go down. We're getting down to the last yard. I'll tell the finisher, "All right, man, when you get to about 2 wheelbarrows, let me know and I'm gonna shut the machine down." So we get pumping. He goes, "That's it." So I shut it off and I go there and look. It looks like about 2 wheelbarrows. Well, I know the hopper full is gonna hold about 1 wheelbarrow. I know that. And if I got 200 foot of 2-inch, I know that's another wheelbarrow. That's 2 wheelbarrows. I go there and look, and he needs 3 wheelbarrows. I put another half a hopper and I pump that down. And I go back there and look. Perfect. I close the lid and I give him about 5 strokes of air. And I pump out a little bit, stop. Pump out a little bit, stop. Boom. I fill the hopper up to start with water. I tell the driver, "Okay, that's it. We're done." He'll go and start washing up. I fill it all the way up full of water, and now I push that water to the finisher. When he starts getting enough, he'll throw it outside the form, and the water will follow him behind. You use the water to wash whatever pile you left. You know what I mean? Wash it down. Wash it down. I bust the ass end loose. I put the trap door. I wash the hopper. I'll put it in reverse, wash the cylinders out, wash the S-rock out, or the S-tube out, real good. I wash the bearings, put the trapdoor down. Now I fill it up with clean water. I put my sponge ball in the end of the reducer, put the reducer back on, clamp it back up. I fill it all the way back up, and now I send that ball through, and that cleans my hose out.
A ball. Okay.
Boom, it pops out.
Or a sponge, whatever.
When it comes out, I grab the sponge and I wash the end off, because that end might be your first hose on your next job. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because there's not unless you have a designated whip hose with one end cut off, it's something different. But so I wash that end off as the water's coming out. Wash it off good. I bust the first clamp loose and I bring the sponge, the clamp, and the hose with me. Boom. And I throw the clamp up in the hopper. I bust all the clamps. I throw them in the hopper. I start grabbing hoses. I throw them in the truck. I wash my clamps down. I throw them in the truck. I bust the reducer down and leave the first fold over up, stick it straight up. So it's starting to fill up again. So now that's your third hopper full of water.
Sí, correcto. Solo.
I wash my hoses up, I wash my clamps up, I throw them in the truck. I grease the machine one last time, all the way around.
Correcto.
The finisher goes, or the contractor, whoever, says that, that's it, we're done for the day. I go get my ticket signed. I add about 15 minutes because I got 15 minutes worth of work to do. By 15 minutes, have them sign my ticket, I throw that in the truck. I throw my power cord in the truck. Boom, so now the machine is just bare by itself. The machine's greased. So then what I do is, I come over here, I put it in reverse, I open up my drain and let it drain all the way out, throw that in reverse, check my bolts, throw it one more time right in reverse, I check my bolts, wash the hopper out, I throw now I'm done with the water hose. I pull it up and I throw it inside the hopper. It's gonna be about this much, wash the sander off the hose, right? I close my lid, I bust the trapdoor loose, I clean my belt, my boots, my hands, my face, whatever, out of the water. I bust the trapdoor, anything I leave behind, it washes away. Boom, I'm done. Take the reducer, throw in the truck, and I'm going to the next job. So you keep that protocol, and you won't lose anything. You won't lose a shovel, you won't lose a hammer. Everything goes back in the truck. By the time you're down to the bare, everything is in the truck. Everything's ready to go. Main thing is, wash down good, grease good, don't leave anything on the job. Because nowadays, especially around here, you leave a clamp and a shovel on a job, hell, you're in the red. That's all your profit, The clamp was $50 and the shovel was $25 at Home Depot. Fuck, that was your profit, $70, Especially when you're doing the blow and go. You do 10 yards and you're out, 10 yards and out, all the profit you can get, If you can do, if you're by yourself and you can do 3-4 jobs a day, it's a good living. That's $500 in your pocket, Of course, you're going to kick a little bit for the machine, but that's pretty good thing. But you got to be quick, you got to be efficient. You can't leave nothing on the job.
Okay,
so,
let it run in.
Any questions as far as that you can think of? Or?
What's the pressure the natural, the nitrogen, dry nitrogen has to be at?
Between about 65 to 90.
65 to 90. Okay.
Bar.
Okay.
So
the red, I'm always reading red inside.
Right, okay.
And then the outside, of course, you got PSI. Okay. So everything's bar for us.
Bar, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So when I ask you, is it at 200? I'm not meaning 200 PSI, I'm meaning 200 bar. Everything's bar. It just happens to convert for you on PSI, but I always deal. Because everything in my manuals are bar. Everything's in German.
Gotcha.
So.
I think we need water in the water box.
Any other questions before we get started?
Just, but let him do it. Dale, Alan, bombea y entonces simulamos una estanca. No, usted, yo lo he hecho, él ya lo ha hecho, usted no lo ha hecho, entonces hágale. Pues falta que él llene de agua sí, porque eso no tiene agua. Entonces, acordate que estos son los switches de operación.
Los switches de operación.
Este por lo general es el que él siempre mantiene arriba, pero
es para
como
el cooling fan, ¿no?
Sí, y eso es porque aquí estamos en Florida, entonces siempre garantizarle refrigeración al aceite hidráulico nunca está de más, entonces este siempre queda para arriba, a no ser de que estés en un clima demasiado frío, ahí sí lo puedes pasar para abajo. Okay. Este es pump on, pump off, este es un momentáneo, este no se te va a quedar nunca arriba, solamente está recibiendo la orden de que usted, que más concreto, pum, pare, pum, y todo eso lo vas a controlar desde aquí. El test solamente es para test o cuando algo se está dañando, etcétera, etcétera, como él te explicó. Y este es el de reversa. Entonces, en teoría, si vos tenés ya tu setup, estás bombeando, y de pronto se te fue una roca de este tamaño y te está taponando la segunda manguera, o ya lo sentiste así con el pie y entonces decís, coño, aquí es donde está duro y para acá está suave, entonces el taponamiento está aquí. Vos te vas otra vez a la máquina ya esto tiene que estar en off. Le das uno arriba para que este alumbre y que te está activando la reversa. Le das uno hacia arriba del pompón, dejas que haga 2 strokes para atrás, lo paras y ahí sí te vas a darle porra a la manguera o a desbloquear como sea.
Sacarle la presión.
Sacarle, ahí ya le sacaste la presión con los 2 reversazos a todo el sistema. Entonces, y además eso lo puedes verificar aquí, porque si la máquina se te llega a trancar en las mangueras, aquí va a sostener presión. Para eso es que le haces dos reversazos para que esto llegue y baje a 0, pum, y recoja un poquito el concreto. Ya liberado eso, le das martillo donde está la roca, donde está el plugueo, y cuando ya garantices de que eso está desplugueado, bajas este otra vez, ya o sea, lo pones en forward y le empiezas a dar on otra vez y vuelve y empieza el a bombear. Entonces, ahorita vas a hacer, vos vas a primear el sistema, todo eso. Normalmente lo que se hace es que se ha hecho un primer en todo el sistema, que es como una baba en las paredes de la manguera para que no se pegue bien y fluya bien el concreto. Si vas a hacer ese proceso, me decís que él sabe el protocolo a hacerlo muy bien, pero después de que hagas eso, empecé a echar concreto y empecé a echar la bombeada on and off. Eso es lo que yo quiero ver si vos lo haces bien. Primero, yo una cosa como por garantizar el asunto. Yo siempre, cuando esto está apagado, bajo este volumen al 0, porque yo no sé a qué volumen está seteado desde delante, y este también al 0 para no prender el motor a alta revolución.
So if you push this button, it just basically leaves it at.
This is this is to do it fast, and this is to do it slow. You have to screw it out or screw it in to do it slow, or just push the pump to do it, push the button to do like quickly. But if we're gonna start it, just put it on lower RPMs. Yeah, you're good. Yep.
You hear the click? Why? You can hear the engine click. There you go.
Exactly.
Ahora el acumulador que te va a llenar, obvio. Vos vas a estar haciendo idle hasta que esto se agarre temperatura. Y un poquito el motor también te agarre temperatura. Vas a hacerle así. Ya tenés la máquina primeada y lista. Y empezaron a echar concreto. Dale, que te empezaron a echar concreto ya. Ya tenés el hopper lleno de concreto. Volvió a llegar más o hasta están pidiendo más concreto. ¿Está llegando más concreto? Sí, o sea, ya tenés el copper lleno otra vez y te están pidiendo concreto allá. No. Dice, primero, antes de moverlo, le pones siempre ese para arriba. Siempre. Así lo ves.
uno se llega a asustar o alguna vaina, para eso hay que estar en estos botones rojos. O se llega a abrir la tapa, pasaría exactamente lo mismo.
Okay.
Y ahí quedó todo seteado pues ajá. Entonces ahí vuelves a setearlo. Antes de prenderla vos seteas que estés en 0 aquí, en 0 acá, la prendes, le haces un poquito de idle para que coja temperatura. Luego antes de empezar a hacer strokes la revolucionás.
Siempre
ya
revolucionada para cualquier
siempre.
momento.
Si vas a mover los strokes, siempre tenés que revolucionar. De hecho, si no lo revolucionas y el motor está y le exigís a la bomba hidráulica principal presión, ella va a hacer stall. Ella y se apagó, como si estuviera sacando muy rápido el clutch.
Sí. Okay.
En este momentico estaba este switch en local porque lo estás manejando de aquí.
Si fue con el control, ya nada más se cambia para allá y se conecta aquí, ¿no?
Exactamente. Esto es para allá, esto tiene esa tapita.
Okay.
Déjele esa tapita afuera si quiere. Porque para eso tiene ese cablecito y ya. Eso.
Okay.
Usted la deja así, pam, la pone. Y cuando termine de utilizar el control, si lo va a recoger, usted vuelve y pone su tapa. Este tiene este gancho y ya te sostiene para que volverlo hermético. ¿Alguna pregunta?
Señor Nico, ¿una pregunta?
No.
Okay.
Ok, bueno, entonces voy a suspender el video y este video se los voy a mandar yo junto con los PDFs que él dijo de lo del mantenimiento y todo eso.
Okay.